Letter 39 by Charles Lamb. Charles Lamb to Robert Southey, probably November 1798. The following is a second extract from my tragedy that is to be, Tease, narrated by an old steward to Margaret, orphan ward of Sir Walter Woodville. This, and the dying lover I gave you, are the only extracts I can give without mutilation. I expect you to like the old woman's curse. Old steward. One summer night, Sir Walter, as it chanked, was pacing to and fro in the avenue that westward fronts our house, among those aged oaks, said to have been planted 300 years ago by a neighbouring prior of the Woodville name. But so it was, being overtasked in thought, he heeded not the importune suitor who stood by the gate, and begged an alms. Some say he shoved her rudely from the gate with angry chiding, but I can never think Sir Walter's nature hath a sweetness in it, that he would use a woman, an old woman, with such discourtesy, for old she was who begged an alms of him. Well, he refuzzed her, whether for importunity, I know not, or that she came between his meditations. But better had he met a lion in the streets than this old woman that night, for she was one who practised the black arts, and served the devil, being since burned for witchcraft. She looked at him like one that meant to blast him, and with a frightful noise, 'twas partly like a woman's voice, and partly like the hissing of a snake, she nothing said but this. Sir Walter told the words. A mischief, 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 and a 9 times killing curse, by day and by night, to the caitiff wight who shakes the poor like snakes from his door, and shuts up the womb of his purse. And a mischief, 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 and a 9-fold withering curse. For that shall come to thee, that will render thee both all that thou fear'st and worse. These words 4 times repeated, she departed, leaving Sir Walter like a man beneath whose feet a scaffolding had suddenly found, so he described it. Margaret. A terrible curse, old steward. O lady, such bad things are told of that old woman, as namely that the milk she gave was sour, and the babe who sucked her shriveled like a mandrake, and things besides, with a bigger horror in them, almost, I think, unlawful to be told. Margaret. Then must I never hear them, but proceed, and say what followed on the witch's curse. Old steward. Nothing immediate, but some 9 months after, young Stephen Woodville suddenly fell sick, and none could tell what ailed him, for he lay and pinned, that all his hair came off, and he that was full-fleshed became as thin as a 2 months' babe that hath been starved in the nursing. And sure, I think, he bore his illness like a little child. With such rare sweetness of dumb melancholy he strove to clothe his agony in smiles, which he would force up in his poor, pale cheeks, like ill-timed guests, that had no proper business there. And when they asked him his complaint, he laid his hand upon his heart to show the place where Satan came to him o' nights, he said, and pricked him with a pin. And hereupon Sir Walter called to mind the beggar witch that stood in the gateway, and begged an alms. Margaret. I do not love to credit tales of magic. Heaven's music, which is order, seems unstrung, and this brave world, creation's beauteous work, unbeautified, disordered, marred, where such strange things are acted. This is the extract I bragged of, as superior to that I sent you from Marlow. Perhaps you smile, but I should like your remarks on the above, as you are deeper witch-read than I. The passage quoted in this letter, with certain alterations, became afterwards The Witch, a dramatic sketch independent of John Woodville. By the phrase without mutilation, Lamb possibly means to suggest that Southey should print this sketch and The Dying Lover in the annual anthology. That was not, however, done. The Witch was first printed in the works, 1818. Here should come a letter from Lamb to Robert Lloyd, postmarked November 20, 1798, not available for this edition. In this letter, Lamb sends Lloyd the extract from The Witch that was sent to Southey.